It has now been almost 4 weeks since Russia invaded Ukraine. And tonight, President Biden is in Brussels, Belgium. Together with his national security leadership, they'll be part of a trio of summits tomorrow with NATO, the European Union, and the G7. More sanctions against Russian politicians and oligarchs are on the way as the allies continue coordinating support for Ukraine. Meantime, the Ukrainian counteroffensive continues around the capital, Kyiv, as Russian forces remain stalled in many sectors of the country. And NATO officials today said that the alliance estimates that between 7,000 and 15,000 Russian soldiers have been killed since the invasion began. Here again is Jane Ferguson reporting from Kyiv.
Firefighters in Kyiv received the most emergency calls today since Russia's invasion began. Another sign that Moscow is not letting up its assault on the capital. Local resident Svetlana's home is now smoldering rubble, only the charred remains of a past life.
We were in the bedroom and I was sitting in the armchair watching television. When it exploded, I ran away to the kitchen. Then there was already everything damaged. Windows were blown, smoke and smell of burning. I could not take anything from the rooms and we ran outside.
She was able to walk away. Many others were not. In the besieged city of Mariupol, subjected to the fiercest Russian onslaught of the war, some, fortunate enough to make the rare humanitarian corridor out, arrived in Zaporizhia last night by bus. Getting trapped civilians out of Mariupol has become the gravest humanitarian emergency of this war. Now, the Ukrainian government says Russian forces have seized a convoy of 11 empty buses on their way to Mariupol to bring people to safety.
For several weeks, we've been trying to organize stable humanitarian corridors for Mariupol's residents, and almost all our attempts have been, unfortunately, obstructed by shelling or deliberate terror by Russian occupiers.
But a senior U.S. defense official said today Ukrainians continue to push Russia away from Kyiv. Russian forces remain outside Chernihiv and Kharkiv and are now increasing their offensive in the Donbas region. The U.S. said Russian attacks could include the use of chemical weapons, something which President Biden warned of again today.
I think it's a real threat.
Earlier this month, and with no evidence, Russia accused the U.S. of developing chemical weapons in Ukraine, raising Washington's fears that Moscow may launch such an attack. Julianne Smith is the U.S. ambassador to NATO.
What worries us about those types of statements and accusations is they may be, again, laying kind of a trap, or not a trap, but a pretext for them to do something more or much worse inside Ukraine.
The NATO alliance is expected to bolster its presence in Eastern Europe, with new troops deployed to Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia. Poland had also called for an international peacekeeping mission in Ukraine, a move that today Russia said could escalate the conflict.
It will lead to the direct clash between the Russian and NATO armed forces that everyone has not only tried to avoid, but said should not take place in principle.
And to avoid the war from spreading, Jens Stoltenberg emphasized its commitment to protecting all allies, including from the risk of a nuclear war.
Russia must stop its nuclear saber rattling. This is dangerous and it is irresponsible. We convey a very clear message to Russia that the nuclear war cannot be won and should never be fought.
But Russia's nuclear forces are on high alert, and last night the Kremlin spokesman would not rule out the nuclear option.
We have a concept of domestic security. So if it is an existential threat for our country, then it can be used in accordance with our concept.
For Ukrainians, there is little security anywhere. Yet, hopes of rebuilding their cities endure, even while they're still under attack. A cellist played in Kharkiv today, raising funds for humanitarian aid and efforts to repair his city when the war is over. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jane Ferguson in Kyiv, Ukraine.
The NewsHour's reporting from Ukraine is supported in partnership with the Pulitzer Center.